I'm here today to talk to you about lawnmowers, because this is a really important topic if you do have a lawn. And few weeks ago we got spring, and if you have a lawn, that means that somebody has to mow it. And when I got to it, I remembered that my lawnmower broke the end of last season, and I need to buy a new one. But I didn't have the time to do the research. So when I was walking my dog, I put an earphone in and I fired up Google Gemini, which the last few months is my favorite model to work with, and I started talking to it. I fired it up in the voice mode, and I told it, listen, I need a lawnmower. I want it to be electric, running on battery, and this is more or less the size of the lawn that I have. This is more or less the price range, and I want you to go to this particular shop. They are a customer, so I thought it makes sense to go to them and find me something that makes sense for what I need. And it told me searching the website, and I found that many match your parameters, but if you expand the price range a little bit, I can find you better ones. So I said, okay, let's expand it. And in the end, it told me it has 3 models that it thinks are the best. It told me a little bit about them, and I thought 2 of them make sense. So I told it, go to the internet, find me reviews of those 2 models, and summarize them for me, and it did. It told me this model is better at this, and so on. And so it was done. It took me like 15 minutes while I was walking the dog, so basically the cost time-wise is 0. And I came home, I was very happy, I sat at my computer, I opened up the conversation to take a look at those 2 models and choose the one I'm gonna buy, and then I found out that none of those models exist. Like, the names of them made sense in the context of how those producers named their models, but those particular models do not exist. Not only that, one of those brands, this particular shop, doesn't sell at all. So I was quite disappointed. I am a tech geek. I love working with LLMs. I use them all the time, and I am delighted with how they work. But every once in a while, something happens that reminds me that they are not as smart and as good as we tend to think about them. And then, of course, the conference speaker in me thought, this is a great story to tell on the KYP Forward in Berlin. So in the end, I thought it was kind of a loss-win kind of situation. And this kind of circles back to what Adam mentioned in his speech, is that we need to be aware of what those technologies can and cannot do, yet at least. Because there will be people, evangelists, consultants, geeks that will come and they will tell you those amazing stories, and they will show you those amazing labs that they build where everything works flawlessly, and they will tell you, hey, you can have a team of AI agents, and those AI agents will be working independently, but communicating with each other and performing your processes, and they will have agentic team leaders and agentic managers, and they will be audited by agentic auditors. And yes, I do believe this will happen. 10 years from now, probably. 5 years from now, maybe. But this year or next year, with how messy our processes are, with how much legacy we have in them, that just doesn't work yet. It can work in a lab, it can work on a specific process in very specific conditions, but we are not there yet. And there are constant reminders of this on the market too. This is a great story, a company called Nate. Maybe some of you heard about it. I thought it's a strange business because what they did is they put AI agents into your shopping experience. So if you're browsing a website and you like something, you want to buy it, what they are saying is that the most painful part is that you have to create an account, you have to fill in your home address and choose how they're going to send it to you, and you have to put your credit card. So they would automate it for you with AI. And so the application, how it works, is that you are on a shop on your phone, and then you tap share, and then you choose Nate, and Nate finishes it all up for you. So an AI agent does all of the boring stuff. Your only job is to find the stuff that you want and have enough money on your account to pay for it. Now, a lot of people clearly thought this is a great idea because they gathered more than $50 million in funding. The problem was that money ran out very quickly, way too quickly for a technological startup of this size. And so people started investigating, and what they found is that those amazing AI agents were actually hundreds of people in Romania, in the Philippines. And all of the work they have been doing manually. And so the tech geek in me thought, this is really bad, because this kind of stories, they are very bad for technology adoption. Right? People, you show them something that you know works, and they say, yeah, is it like the Nate thing? And so that's bad. Then the socialist in me thought, that's actually pretty good. Because, we thought AI is going to take our work, and what we see is that AI is actually creating jobs for people. So that's nice, right? I mean, Marx and Engels would approve. Especially that you take 50 million from the rich and you give it to the working class. So, okay. And and then, of course, the speaker in me thought, this is a great story for KYP Forward in Berlin. So I'm not trying to tell you Gen AI doesn't work. I'm not trying to tell you AI agents or AI assistants do not work. They do. You just have to be careful about how you can tell the hype from reality, how you can tell the stuff that works today and you can use it and you should implement it from the stuff that will take years to actually work for your company to be able to benefit from it. And so I wanted to show you something that we at Office Samurai have implemented for our own, and that we know works. And this is the kind of Gen AI use that I think everybody should give it a try. Let me introduce you to Cyber Ola. Ola is the head of our admin and HR department. And we're not a big company, we're only 40 people, but they already get a lot of repeating questions and a lot of repeating tasks that take a lot of their time. So we have created an alter ego for Ola and her team. And all of the employees in Office Samurai can use it to their benefit. And so let me show you, let's see if the live demo works. We connected Cyber Ola to the teams. This is the most natural way for people to interact with a tool like this. So everyone in Office Samurai has access to Cyber Ola. And the first part I want to show you is the AI assistant part. And it's quite important to understand the difference, and different people will have different ways of describing it. But from our perspective, AI assistant is something that gives you information. Right? So we put in Cyber Ola, we put something like 70 different documents, internal documents of Office Samurai, administration, recruitment, IT, security, procedures, best practices, PowerPoint presentations, all of this we put in CyberOla, right? So if you want to ask a question about one of those topics, you no longer have to go to Ola and her team. You can go to CyberOla first, and you can ask it something, for instance, like, what are the benefits for our employees? Right? And what happens in the background is, this is a RAG framework, so something that a lot of companies are already using. The knowledge is put into a vector database, and then the RAG framework searches for the data that may be relevant for answering this particular question, and then this data together with the question is sent to an LLM model, and then you get information based on only on the data that you have given to the tool, right? So this is not generic knowledge that you may already have in your model. This is taken from our procedures and information. You probably cannot read it from the back, but basically CyberOla talks about what are the main benefits, and also it gives us information where it took this data from. So you can double check it. This is really, really important if you're implementing one of those assistants. Implement it in a way that it tells you where it took the data from, so you can check it. And so I can ask it a lot of kind of knowledge-based questions, and this is what the RAG framework handles. And doing something like this is very easy nowadays. Like if you have Microsoft 365, you can use Copilot Studio. You can just drag and drop your documents, and you can create an assistant like this in a few minutes. The problem is that LLM models hallucinate a lot. And the same way that Elon Musk, for the last 15 years, every year has been telling us, yeah, next year, all of the Teslas will be completely autonomous, and I still have to drive my daughter to school. The same way Sam Altman, for a few years now, has been telling us, next year we're going to solve the hallucination problem. It's still not solved, and actually, for some models, it's getting worse. So if you do something like this with one of the simple tools, there is a high risk of hallucinations. And how it will manifest itself is, when I ask, can I bring my dog to work, CyberOla tells me, yes, dogs are welcome in Office Samurai, because we have this in our procedures that it's okay to bring your dog, just make sure that you are responsible for whatever it does. But if I ask it, what about a parrot? The thing is, we have nothing about bringing parrots to the office in our documentation. We only have information about dogs. And if you do an assistant like this, the quick way, sometimes it will tell you that it's okay to bring parrots to the office, because it will extrapolate from existing data, and it will think, a dog isn't that different from a parrot, so probably it's okay to bring a parrot too. I'm not saying it's not. If you want to work at Office Samurai, we can negotiate on parrots if you really want to bring them to the office, but for now we don't have anything on that in our documents. And it's really important to make sure that when the model doesn't know, if it doesn't find the data to answer the question, it tells you that it doesn't know. And those models tend to come up with their own answers, like humans really, right? I mean, you ask an average human a political question that is not completely obvious, and probably half of them will make something up on the spot because they will want to justify their beliefs. So it's not like the machines are that different from us on that front. But here, if somebody brings a parrot, based on CyberOla telling them it's okay, it's not that big of a problem, right? We're gonna take some photos, and then they're gonna take the parrot home. But if you create this assistant for something that can actually cost you, that can bring you problems, then the hallucinations can be a huge issue. And in here, because this is our own framework, we can, all of the little dials we can play with to make sure that it doesn't hallucinate and it only tells us the truth. And if it doesn't know, it tells us, I don't know, go and talk to the real Ola and she will know, right? So if you think about it, think about where you could use something like this. As simple as the example is in your company, because you have a lot of people, I don't know, in finance, right? And in finance, you have to know a lot, you have to remember a lot. There's a lot of procedures, there's a lot of rules, you have to take regulations into consideration. An assistant like this could help your people in finance could answer those people's questions. You can have, I don't know, your salespeople or your engineers, you could put all of the data about your products into an assistant like this, and then that kind of an assistant would be able to answer their questions about which product does this, which product has that, what are the parameters for this particular product. Right? You could have it for your IT, right? Your own IT service desks could be able to, using this kind of an assistant, to answer questions that users ask them, but also users could go, without going to the IT service desk, they could go to an assistant like this, and this assistant would tell them to reboot their computer. So this is the first thing that you can do. But then we would build upon on that and make it agentic. And agentic basically means the tool has agency. So the tool can not only give you answers, but it can do things for you. And when I ask CyberOla for certain things, it skips the RAG framework because it understands that this is not a knowledge kind of question. And it goes into certain little agents that we have built. So one of the things that we deliver a lot of trainings in Office Samurai. And every time we do, we need a training survey. So at the end of the session, people fill it in. And so it used to be done by people in the admin. So if the trainer goes to a training, they ask them, hey, I need a training survey for this company at this date, and then they get a link back. So we have implemented this in CyberOla, and if you tell it, I need a training survey, it knows what are the parameters needed to create a training survey. And some of them you have to give it, and some of them, if you don't give it the parameters, it defaults to default parameters. So it asks me, who will be the instructor for the training? What's the name of the company, the training session? So it asks me certain things that it needs to perform the task. So I say, okay, training will be intro to AI for company KYP tomorrow. So it also asks me, if I don't give it all of the information, it will keep on asking me until I give it all of the information. I will say in English. It also asks me about, okay, no certificates. And then when it has all of the information, then it's easy, right? Because it has API, it does API calls, first to JotForm, which is the tool that we're using for creating those surveys. We get a link. and then it makes an API call to a tool for shortening links, so the trainer gets a short link, and then also another API call to create a QR code. All of this is very, very easy to do, right? This is written in Python. ChatGPT will write it for you in a few minutes. The thing is, the hard part is to make sure that CyberOla talking to a person understands what the person needs, understands what parameters a person needs to give it, and then keeps on talking to the person until it has all of the parameters. And once it does, it's very, very easy. Right? So this is the one that we started with, but then we started adding others on top of it. And once you have a framework and once you figured it out, it's actually quite easy to keep on adding new and new agents to it. So we have things like, if you need, in Poland we have this thing that if you buy glasses, the company has to refund you, right? But you need to fill in a form. So if somebody from Office Samurai wants a refund on glasses, they tell Ola, hey, I need a refund on glasses. Ola asks them about invoice amount, date, and then prepares a form they can send to HR, right? I don't know, it can find, if you want to meet, you want to have a meeting with some people, you can ask it, and it's going to find the first slot that where all of the people are available. So small things we implement in there. Each of them is tiny, but in the end they add up to our administration team to have the time to be freed up from those little mundane tasks, and people getting answers immediately instead of waiting until their email or their ticket gets processed. And this is where we also kind of circle back to what Adam was saying, because to build those in Office Samurai, the way we build it, we've been learning technology, right? For a company of 40 people, to construct it from scratch like we did, it doesn't make business sense. This was for us to create something that will be usable in Office Samurai, but mainly to learn the technology and to get expertise on how things like this can be done. So each of those little agents didn't have to make sense financially, because that was not the purpose of the exercise. But if you're doing it in your company, you have to know what kind of agents am I going to be adding to this tool? Because writing an agent takes time, takes resources, testing it, and actually there's more testing than writing when you work with Gen AI, right? And testing isn't easy with Gen AI. So you have to know how to find the right tools to put into an AI agent like this for it to make sense. And this is, from my perspective, this is where KIP really gets into the game of agentic. We've been using, with our customers, we've been using KYP for finding processes for improvement, for finding processes for automations, for workload redistribution, all of those things. But this is the next step, because this will tell you, if you decide to build your own CyberOla, this will tell you what little agents you should put in there, and how much money it's going to save you, and how many people will be able to benefit from it. So all of this, like if you need to create a business case for having an agent like this in your company, KYP data is basically all that you need. You just put it on a few slides, probably using some sort of Gen AI to create it for you and help you write the pitch, and then you go and hopefully you do get the money to implement it. And you do need to get the money to implement it so we can stop handling this kind of stupid mundane tasks and have the time for the really important stuff, like finally mowing our lawns. Thank you.